Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Richards. Tonight we hear from a woman whose life has been transformed by a revolutionary new design of hearing aid, and I'll be talking to local author Maria Teenby. But first, the news headlines with James Dunn.
Hello, in the headlines today, Hull City Council announced a £25 million regeneration in the city centre. And it's like a circus in Lincolnshire as a juggling convention pulls people in from all over the world. The traditional image of Hull city centre is set to change drastically by the time Hull becomes City of Culture in 2017. The first £12.7 million phase of the total £25 million investment will focus on changing the face of Queen Victoria Square and the look of Humber Street. It includes the pedestrianisation of King Edward Street and a new LED lighting system to light up the streets in the city centre. We spoke to Councillor Martin Mancy about how the investments will benefit businesses in the area around Queen Victoria Square.
The consultants who've drawn up these proposals, and they're very experienced consultants in working in city centre developments, they anticipate that as a result of this strategy there will be increased interest in retail business, and they've projected an increase in retail turnover of an additional £70 million a year. Associated with that, obviously a whole range of jobs will be created, so again adding to the economic fortunes of the city.
Cleethorpes in Bloom judges hit the resort yesterday to see if it's deserving of gold again. But the competition is about more than flowers. The whole town has to look pristine for the visitors. Doug Stacey explained why the competition is so important for local communities.
Well, we always enjoy coming here. We're given such a warm welcome by a thoroughly dedicated team of people that have been committed really to improving the environment of Cleethorpes for many, many years. And they've done it with great success. We've managed to bring the whole community together behind this idea, and when we come here we can see the difference that it is making.
No doubt the Cleethorpes in Bloom committee will have their fingers crossed until the results are announced later this year, and other towns in the region will also be expecting the East Midlands in Bloom judges this week. More personal community tailored healthcare could be on the way to North East Lincolnshire. The idea was one of several to improve healthcare discussed by professionals at the Accord conference. We spoke to one of the speakers at the conference about local healthcare.
We're building community into the business of the CCG, so both in terms of board level but also in terms of some of the work that we do. So we have a model of what we call triangle, so every key programme of work, whether it's women and children, older people, prescribing, emergency care, we have a clinician working alongside a community member with managerial support. So we're bringing all of that together to really make a difference.
A new inter-school competition has been launched for younger children in the Hull area. There's already a multi-sport event for 15 and 16-year-olds, but the new event at the Costello Stadium was a chance for children aged 7 to 14 to check out the competition elsewhere.
I'm one of the key organisers for the event. It came as an idea from myself and two other SGOs in the locality, because we have a lot of small schools that don't get to a big event because obviously they usually qualify through level 2 and level 3. So we've almost had a direct entry level 3 just for small schools, so that's under 100 pupils.
Police are advising people to shut windows and doors as the summer heats up and they prepare for the annual rise in house burglaries. They claim that all too often opportunist thieves see doors left open and windows left ajar. You can find information on how to avoid falling victim to summer burglaries on the police's website. And finally, jugglers from as far away as Las Vegas came to Lincolnshire for a juggling convention at Cabourn Parva. The convention featured many acts doing different things, from juggling pins and balls, riding unicycles and different kinds of dances. We spoke to organiser Mark Atkinson about what it means for the area.
So this is Juggling Convention 2014, built on 2013. It has grown in numbers, it has grown in workshops. We've had 30 workshops. You need to come along, you need to be part of this experience, you need to help it grow. It is Lincolnshire's only juggling convention. It has never had a juggling convention until last year, and this is the only time. Lincolnshire's a huge county, it's needed one for many, many years, and now it has because of all these wonderful people.
That's all from me. Bye for now.
A Barton woman has been the first person in the country to receive cutting-edge hearing aid technology. One of her first priorities was to hear her own daughter sing. James Dunn spoke to her about how the new surgery has changed her life.
Zoe Holmes was profoundly deaf in her left ear, but the problem had an impact on her life that went well beyond that on her hearing.
It knocked my confidence totally. I didn't want to go out, didn't want to be with friends. It was a real impact on my little girl because she was having to shout at me all the time, but it was my confidence mainly.
But 6 months ago, Zoe became the first person in the UK to have a bone-anchored hearing aid fitted.
You have a magnet that goes under your skin area here, then you have another magnet that connects to your box, and then this is the processor, and that connects and sends sound waves down to my hearing, so I can hear totally now.
Since having the operation, she's a different person. The smallest of changes have meant life's become a song.
It's been brilliant. I can go out again, see friends, got my confidence back, go to a local club and have a drink and that with friends, play pool. Being able to go to my little girl's school concert and listen to her sing, and being able to sit at back instead of being sat at front, it was brilliant. It brought tears to my eyes. I really loved it.
Now she's writing a testimonial to encourage others thinking about having the same operation to take that leap of faith.
It's information for other people that are going through the same situation that I've been through. It explains all procedure, all operation, how mine started, all my aftercare that I've been through, and I just think it'll be useful for people that are going through or want to know more about it. There's a leaflet or a book there for them. Anyone that's going for it, I'd suggest they go for it. It brings everything back to what you can hear again. You're not stuck in like a little bubble. You're out and about all the time. It's absolutely brilliant being able to hear sirens like a mile away before anybody else hears them, or listening to red arrows going over. It's absolutely brilliant.
James Dunn, Estuary TV News.
I'm joined now by the author Maria Teenby, originally from Scunthorpe, whose book Finding Harriet explores the life of a Victorian washerwoman and her secret shame. Maria, thank you very much for coming in.
Hello.
Finding Harriet. Who is Harriet and did you find her?
I did indeed find her, but she was very difficult to pin down in history, very elusive and shady lady. Harriet was my great-grandmother, who lived in Scunthorpe at the time when the very early ironworks were just starting up, Appleby Ironworks in fact. And she lived right next door to them, and she had a most interesting and naughty life.
Well, naughtiness is always good for a novel. What did she get up to?
Well, as a young serving wench, she gave birth to an illegitimate child, which in Victorian days was an absolute no-no and meant that she was really out in the cold, socially speaking, unforgiven by society, an unforgiven woman. But miraculously, at age 27, when she was really on the shelf by Victorian standards, Mr. Blanchard comes along, takes her hand in marriage, carries her off to Santon Terrace next to the ironworks in Scunthorpe, as it was at that time, and they have 4 daughters. Then he mysteriously disappears.
Ah. Is there a bit of a whodunit element to
There is. There were always whispers in my family about what happened to him and how Harriet had had a hand in what happened to him. But nothing was ever said. And at the beginning of researching her, I didn't even know her name. That's how shameful she was regarded in my family.
Well, a little earlier you used the phrase young serving wench, a job description we hear too little of these days, I think.
Yes.
But that time, having children out of wedlock was regarded as a frightful
absolutely.
sin.
You were a harried and a whore, a harlot, an outcast from society. and you received no financial support whatsoever due to the 1833 Poor Law, which made you a whore and a harlot.
And the traditional thing to do would have been to have been sent away, to have had your children adopted, to have sent them to an orphanage or poor.
Yes.
But Harriet didn't.
Harriet chose to let her sister bring up the first child. She brought up her daughters, obviously. But then after Mr. Blanchard disappears so mysteriously, she did the unthinkable again. She took up with a married gentleman. I assume his wife was around, but I can't really prove it. I've never been able to prove it. So in the novel, I've made something up. And she has another 3 children by him, one of whom was my grandfather. And in order to do that, she had to have been having an affair with him because she was in a tied house, tied to the Appleby Works. And she couldn't have lived there unless she was with an iron worker.
This is a very interesting process, the research that goes into your own ancestry, into this particularly fascinating woman. And yet you write a novelisation of it, a fictionalisation of it.
Yes, obviously you have to be careful with absolute historical accuracy, so I preferred to turn it into a novel. Plus, I can never really be sure what did happen to Mr. Blanchard, who was not, of course, my great-grandfather.
Well, your great-grandmother was frankly no better than she should be, was she? How common was the circumstance that she found herself in back in those days?
Very, very uncommon. Children were given away, or they were sent to baby farmers. These were women who would look after them, starve the children, and the babies would die.
You have come to write this circumstance by this novel by force of circumstance yourself, haven't you? An illness gave you no choice but to sit down, really.
Yes, I had to sit down. I had an enforced period of activity. I used to be a primary school head teacher, first in Scunthorpe and then later in Louth. And then I developed a very debilitating neuromuscular weakness. Literally, my body came under friendly fire from my own immune system. I found I was sitting in my office one day signing forms and my hand wouldn't work. It literally wouldn't work. 10 minutes later, it will. Half an hour later, it won't. And things began to go from bad to worse. Initially, of course, you can't replicate this kind of thing in your doctor's surgery, so I was overworked, menopausal, stressed head teacher.
This is a condition called myasthenia gravis.
It turned out to be that, but after 3 years of struggling on.
Well, it's a very rare condition.
It is.
How many people suffer from it in the UK?
Less than 10,000 in the country.
And why is it so difficult to diagnose?
Well, I often think it's because it is a fatigable muscle weakness. In other words, you can trot along to see a neurologist and you're fine, and he can't find anything wrong with you. 10 minutes later, you're seeing double, you can't speak, and you're falling down the stairs on your way out of his office. It's that variable. And my one eye or both eyes will shut. Maybe one side of my body is just paralysed.
It's a little-known disease, but you mentioned there's a new organisation, MyAware.
Yes, there is.
What's that hoping to achieve?
Well, it's a rebranding of the Myasthenia Gravis Association. It's been found that there are lots of different sorts of myasthenias, so not just...
How can people get in touch with this organisation?
They can get in touch by going on the internet and looking up myaware.org.
Maria, thank you very much. Good luck with the novel, Finding Harriet. Absolutely fascinating story. That's all we have time for this time, I'm afraid. If you've a story for us, please email news@estuary.tv or contact us via our Twitter or Facebook pages, or pick up the phone and call 01472 315561. Until next time, goodbye.